looking at the gravesite. And I made this, showed this one about the little fisher boy. This is a 18-year-old boy who was killed in a car wreck. And the lady who was there went home and talked to her daughter, who happened to be about that age, and said, you know, that's not the family who's putting all those roses and things on there. Those are his classmates. His classmates, that was their first brush with death, that they were not immortal. And they, you know, did that. I was told that the mother had to sell possessions in order to buy that. And he disappeared for a while, but he's back, and he's right over there. I wanted to tell you the story of the Lewis family right here. Albert Jackson, known as Jack, came from Kentucky, early on. He was in his teens, and he came right after the 1900 storm because he was a carpenter, and he was looking for work for the 1900 storm. A fisherman by choice, he made his own rods and reels. He was an artist with what he did. He worked on the old West Mansion. It's across the lake. He did the finish carpentry work, the design work on that. And he loved fishing, up one side and down another. The story goes that he met his wife, Gertie, who was a young French lady from Hitchcock, the Lowick family. While fishing, he decided he was going to ask her to marry him. So they were fishing, he asked her to marry him, and as he got up, he stepped on her skirt and pulled her up and ripped the skirt in the middle of his... Anyway, they're the ones that lived in the little pinkish house on Main Street that you passed as you came. Gertrude was a fixture at Bayshore Friends Church. She always made sure that her grandkids would get on the little green church bus with her, and she always took them with her. She was a musical person. They always called her Ma or Gertie. Roy Jackson Lewis, right here, is their son. He was born in 1906. He was a minister, worked for the Salvation Army for a long time in Texas City, and they had Gertrude Lucille, who was born, and she lived in the little house. It's her family now that owns it. She had a stroke, a massive stroke, and for 6 years was in a coma. And her husband actually built the back part of that house as a hospital room for her. Ray G. was a Navy man. He had a gun collection and was killed while cleaning one of his guns. Albert, who we passed way back by the Kip family. The Dick family is back in that area also. He was in the Merchant Marine. The family had a streak of depression, and it was said, rammed his company truck into a wall and died. His folks actually had to pay the company back for the truck. Martha Nell lived to a ripe old age, and then the youngest, Robert Eugene, known as Bobby, inherited a lot of his father's gifts. He was a city councilman for Kemah. He was a corporation court judge. He was an artist, and he was my dad. And this is my family. You guys have stories that are equally as good as anything that I told you today. Your kids at school have stories that are equally as good. We're losing them. There's so many things I wanted to ask my dad. And I see these names, and it's like him talking to me. Talk your kids into doing oral histories. Find somebody who's 50 years old or older. Get their stories. Give them that. There's a sheet in your other handout about kind of questions you can ask. Because you walk up to somebody and say, "Tell me about how it was when you were growing up," and you go, yeah. So give them some primers, but have your kids learn the benefits of oral history and the kinds of things that they can learn that are not just pages in a book. We've already had one today. The beautiful stories that you told us. Thank you. So this is Fairview. This is Clear Creek, the name of our benefactor, and we're getting ready to go get lost in the woods. Right?